feel I was denied critical, need-to-know information.
It's the wonder of nature, baby!
Boys will really once again shouting a battle cry of freedom. We will really from the hillside, all together from the plain, shouting a battle cry of freedom. The union forever, hurrah, boys, hurrah! Down with the traitors, up with the stars. We will reel around the flag, boys will really once again shouting the battle cry of freedom.
Good evening. I was denied critical need to know information today. But in any case, we are here on a special Friday night stream of Uncut History. How is everybody doing tonight? Gosh darn it, I'm tired. Life lifed me this afternoon, and yeah, I was gonna be home around 5:30. I was gonna add the music score for a new edition of Retracing History, and here we are. 8:00. I got home 15 minutes ago. Boy, how time flies! It is great. Well, let's see who is joining in. Elliot Ross, hey, first time to join us on one of our streams, at least in the chat. Welcome. Free K, let's go. And of course, we have Outright History, another new name, if I'm not mistaken. I do not recognize you being in our chat. Outright History, congrats. Congrats, I survived work, right? Yeah, I survived work. Woo! I'm tired. That's what I am. Silent Noises 008 is also joining us. Is that a glass bottle of a beer? A beer? Okay, maybe I should stop the beer gag. I maybe way drunk. And of course, one of the members of our Garrison, our membership program, which you could join on Ko-fi, Skunx Workshop, congratulating us on the free K. What's the free K? Is the free K like is that a race? Is that a race? We got 2104 Dogface tuning in. Oh, you're Mystery Man. Oh, I understand. I understand now. Thank you. Yes, we know who you are. Yes, you've been a long time supporter of us here on the Tube. So I didn't know what to. So first of all, let's back up a little bit. I have been kind of in a drought when it comes to ideas for our live streams. That's why I haven't been doing them too often, because my life is tied down, minus the obvious, day job, and minus, the obvious trying to get this running. I'm tied down a lot with my final semesters of college, because if I give a university a shit ton of money, then they will spat out what I call the funny paper. And then it is okay to the purist that I can educate you about history, but I can only do it with the funny paper, which is why if you always watch my videos, I say I don't educate you. I don't have the funny paper to say I can educate, so I can only claim I edumacate you. If I'm thinking I'm going to spin that to, I'm going to edumericate you. So that's my little rant about college. Anyways, I don't have a lot of time right now to do Uncut History like I usually do during the summer, so I'm kind of unfortunately slacking on it. But then I noticed we were getting very, very close to a certain milestone for Readout Productions, a certain subscribers milestone. So I kind of decided to label it, can we make it past 3,000 subscribers before the stream's over? And I'm happy to say, before we even started, because since I was so late, because we were supposed to do this last night, and then I decided it would probably be wiser to use last night to get the spine of a new edition of Retracing History edited. And I still got to finish that after I'm done streaming. oh boy. It's just life-naming. But I'm very happy to show that if I could share screen, I'm too tired to even remember how we share screens. According to our YouTube studio, we are exactly at 3,000 subscribers here on Readout Productions. And I need the right. I should have perfectly timed, like a meme for that. I guess this is it for 3,000 subscribers. This is the best I get. Yeah, I could do that 3,000 times. The whole stream is going to be Chamberlain shouting bayonets at you 3,000 times. Did you know that? Yes, one for every subscriber here on the channel. Because, boy, what a milestone! I've been really looking forward to finally cresting 3K. All year, I've been kind of eyeing it up. Because I think I hit 2,000 at the start of this year, if I'm not mistaken. I have lost track of time of my milestones at this point. I don't have time to focus. I don't focus on it. But there's no time for that. That's a clip I really need. Robert E. Lee going, there's no time for that. So I want to say we had 2,000 to start this year, and I was really hoping we can we get 1,000 more? Can we get at least 1,000 subscribers in 1 year? Can I say that? Because the channel itself has its roots going back to 2014. 2014, it used to be called DXP Productions for many years. Does anybody remember when we were DXP Productions in the Eon days, when I'd post very poorly filmed rail fan videos of trains? And then I decided I was going to do a rail fan channel called Laurel Highlands Rail Fan Films, which, by the way, that's still up. And maybe tonight I'll actually highlight that, but I haven't. I did that for a few years until about the pandemic. And I haven't really touched Laurel Highlands Rail Fan Films sometime. Then there was a very brief point, around 2020, I was going to decide, you know what, I'm going to reinvent my main channel. We're going to go and collect physical media. Does anybody remember the hole in the wall media days where I would go and actually, I think it was 8 episodes. It was just vlogs of me going to thrift stores. That was great until the pandemic shut everything down. Then I had to figure out what else to do. And that's when I decided to go back to doing history videos. And we did the construction paper battlefields during the pandemic. And then around 2021, I think, is when I started doing the very beginnings of retracing history. The very first retracing history actually goes back to 2017. What I did was I kind of retconned what retracing history was about 20 episodes in. I did a series of railroad videos about abandoned rail lines in the late 2010s and early 2020s. There was only about 2 or 3 of them. And I called them Retracing the Ligonier Valley Railroad, Retracing the Indian Creek Valley Railroad. And then I didn't use that format for a while. And then I started using it again with the Bushy Run video. And that really was the first true retracing history. But I've kind of retconned it. Somebody's trying to reach out to me. Who's reaching out to me? It's a political ad, guys. It's a political ad. We must interrupt this very fun stream to remind you about the omnipresent election. MTG, I won't back down. My letter to supporters. Text stop to unsubscribe. Stop. But I will listen to the unsubscribed podcast. I'm gonna let this spam caller know you should listen to the unsubscribe podcast. Yes. Who here in the chat listens to the unsubscribe podcast? See, I'm letting this spam messenger. See right there? Yep. You really should listen to the unsubscribe podcast. Your time will be much better used than sending out those spam texts. What was I talking about? I need beer. So retracing history, I had the concept in the 2010s, but I really didn't put it together until after the pandemic. And then if you go back for the retracing history catalog, go for the playlist now, you'll actually see I've retconned several videos I made over the years and now labeled them retracing history because it has the theme, it has the format. I just didn't have the name for the series yet. And here we are today. We're at 86 episodes of retracing history. We're about to get 87 if I can get this next one done. And I have a few more lining up. And we are getting close to the 100th episode of retracing history. I have a few ideas. there is one that may involve Dan, the man, Sickles. But we'll see if schedules line up for that to work out. And now I need water because again, I'm exhausted. No, you don't unsub to me. You don't. No. We're gonna keep that 3,000. I would very much like to keep that 3,000. Thank you very much. But spread the word. Maybe you can possibly find somebody, if you know a friend, know a family member who may or may not be interested in my goofiness. Consider sending the link and tell them, hey, you should subscribe to Read Out Productions. They live, explore, and preserve history one video at a time, and they'll give you your edumerication. It'll be great. So yeah, it's all great. My brain's fried. A.S. Burnett's join us in. Thank you for tuning in tonight. All right, so we're at 3K subscribers. And then, of course, the greatest question of all. Now what? What do we do now? I don't think it's any secret that the next episode of Retracing History is going to be about the Kinzu Bridge. That's what I went off and did last weekend. If you listened to last week's stream, that's what I was off and doing. If you don't know what the Kinzu Bridge is, it was at one point the tallest railroad bridge in the world. It's like over 300 feet tall. It was 2,000 feet across a valley in northern Pennsylvania. It was built in the late 1880s, rebuilt in 1900, and then destroyed in 2003 by a tornado. Yes, a tornado in Pennsylvania. You thought my storm chasing video was crazy for Retracing History. I see you people there. I see you. I know you guys were questioning why I was interviewing storm chasers. What does that have to do with Pennsylvania? Everything. And it was all foreshadowing me going to the Kinzu Bridge. So it was destroyed partially by a tornado. The whole middle section was flattened over, but the state actually still preserves the ruins, and they have a very beautiful museum, a great visitor center of interactive exhibits for all ages to describe the history of the bridge, its significance and development in the United States of America in the 20th century, and then kind of going through the kind of like a little bit of a meteorological history, like, hey, you too can go down there and explore tornado debris. Where else in Pennsylvania, where else in the United States can you safely explore tornado rubble for free? That's what the Kinzu Bridge State Park has to claim to fame for. And the surviving 6 towers of the bridge, they have repurposed it as a skywalk. So you can go out about I think it's almost like 260 feet out. It goes out into the valley, and then you have like an unobstructed view of this gorgeous valley, the Kinzu Valley. And we were there in peak fall weather environment, which means all those darn leaf watchers were out there in full force. There were hundreds, if not maybe 1,000 people at Kinzu Bridge State Park last week. We tried to go Saturday last week, me and a humble collector. We couldn't get in. The line, there's like I would say about a mile road that goes back to the visitor center. Half of it was cars. And they had cars in the main lot, and they were parking the cars along that mile stretch of road. So we rearranged our plans at the 11th hour, and we hit the bridge on the way coming back out of the Allegheny National Forest. It's always been a bucket list of mine to go see the Kinzu Bridge, even though it's partially collapsed. Ever since I was a little kid watching, steam train videos, and then everybody would tell me, that bridge, it's in Pennsylvania. And they never bothered telling me until I was a teenager that the bridge fell. Crushed my fragile little mind when they told me that. But finally got to go out there. The Allegheny National Forest, they call it the land of many uses. I'm going to be straightforward with you. I don't know what use other than leaf watching. I get in the 19th and 20th century, all the resources that were extracted. I understand, of course, that's this catchphrase. But for me, I'm like, there's trees and nothing but effing trees. It is one of the most boring rides you can ever take. It's bad if I am bored. Me, the history buff, who always loves looking around what's on the road. There ain't much. At least until you hit Route 6, then you're pretty good. The Grand Army of the Republic Highway that runs the northern half of Pennsylvania. There's a lot of cool stuff up there. And to get to the Kinzu Bridge, you take Route 6 for most of the way. But while we were up there, we went to a very cool little town, which I did have plans to do a video in, but then I realized I didn't have time. and I need to rethink how I'm going to do the video because the town was so adorable. The town was so awesome. It's Kane, Pennsylvania, and we went to a brewery, the Log Yard Brewery, which is actually where I'm having that's the lager I'm drinking tonight. We went inside there, and it's a lumber industry themed brewery. Boy, they had a really good beer, really good beer nachos. They used beer cheese on nachos. We had a full plate. That was our dinner. That served us the whole trip, last leg of the trip. It was stupendous. Good music. They were playing Money by Pink Floyd. You know, you're gonna warm my heart if I walk in and I hear Money on the. I guess it's not really the radio anymore. They're playing it probably off of Spotify or something. So it was really great atmosphere. It was a lot of locals that were in there. Really enjoyed it. And then we discovered that apparently the person who we want to make a video about, his wife's estate is now a bed and breakfast, which makes me really want to stay in the bed and breakfast so I can do the video. I'm talking about General Thomas Kane, who was a general for the Union Army in the American Civil War. He is most famous as being the leading mastermind behind the construction of the Kinzu Bridge. I want to do a whole video just about him, but after I got to go to Log Yard Brewing, I realized I got to go on a whole separate trip and just be up there and just to stay in the community for a weekend. Maybe get to interview a few people, see if anybody knows who Kane is. Do you know why the community is called Kane? And I think it would just be fun to highlight it because there is a lot of history in the town. We went to the local. It's not it's basically a historical society. It's a historical museum ran out of the old Pennsylvania Railroad Depot in Kane. I think it's just called the Kane Train Depot Museum. But it's more like a historical society. They got all sorts of stuff on Thomas Kane and his legacy. They got all sorts of stuff on the railroad, including the history of the Kinzu Bridge. They also sell, so when the bridge fell, people from Kane came up with the idea that they should salvage the wooden rails. There used to be wooden rails on either side of the bridge because it was a state park, and you're allowed to walk the whole length of the bridge as that was the park. So they took all that wooden railing and cut it up into mementos. So they had some of the wood on display and then other stuff they were selling as clocks. I really had to show restraint. I did not buy one. I have some regrets, but also my wallet is thanking me. My soul is empty. I need a piece of the Kinzu Bridge in my collection now. So it was a really cool museum. We only had about like an hour, which was more. I didn't really realize how much was in there. I could have spent all day in there. The docent, she was fantastic, guiding us around. We got to go in the back to see, what did we get? Oh, in the back, they had the whole display on the Dr. McCleary wolves, which I actually posted a short about earlier this week. So that's why I was thinking that if you're wondering, what is that? What is Redoubt doing out there? Well, that was the end of my trip to the Kinzu Bridge. So we went out there and talked about Dr. McCleary. He was doctor in Kane, Pennsylvania for many years, who took a great interest in saving Great Plain and Rocky Mountain wolves. They were being hunted to extinction at the turn of the 20th century by the U.S. and Canadian governments, as these wolves were destroying livestock that was being grazed on these massive ranches out west. So that both governments authorized these hunters and paid them to go just exterminate these wolves. So Dr. McCleary got word of this and he decided he was going to actually save the wolves. And he ended up getting about like 20 wolves forming a pack, which he called the species Lobo wolves. Yeah, that's wolf if you realize Lobo Spanish for wolf. They called them the Lobo wolves. And eventually the pack grew over the years. At one point, I think it had almost 100 wolves in it. And the pack, its descendants is still around, but they live in Montana today. They're not in Kane anymore. In the 1930s, the U.S. government actually reached out to Dr. McCleary and claimed that he had the only surviving pack of like any form of Western wolves that they knew about. Now, that's not fully true. Obviously, the wolves have survived and have come back out west. But Dr. McCleary's pack is really one of the only original lineages to wolves predated in the 20th century. So it'd be nice to do a proper video on that, but did not have time. And outright history agreeing with me. It was a beautiful bridge. The beautiful bridge that anybody ever saw. Shame what the tornado did. The tornado. A darn tornado came across the border and, ran right into that bridge. Trippy Soul, congrats on free K. Thank you very much, Trippy. Another member of the Garrison, which you too can join for a small monthly free. You can join our bastion of historical preservation. Dogface, we are going to a Rev War event at the oldest inn in the country, the Wayside Inn. I have heard about this place. 300 years in Sunbury, Massachusetts. Yes, also the site of King Philip's fight, part of the King Philip's War. Costliest war per capita in American history. King Philip's War occurred in the 17th century up in New England. Attaché Films has kind of become a bit of the go-to historian when it comes to the King Philip's War, at least if you're looking for resources on YouTube. Yep, definitely. Yeah, not necessarily a good thing. A funny story about exterminating things in an ecosystem been around for centuries. It usually backfires tremendously. They had what I really wanted to get from Log Yard, but they didn't sell them in cans. They had a certain type of stout. And you know what? Since we're talking about Log Yard, and this is just a stream, this is a stream for the celebration of it. Let's go to Log Yard Brewing. Let me get up their website. There we are. Log Yard Brewing. Get 10% off your first order. You'll be the first to hear about our new product drops. Are you 21 years of age? Decisions. Our beer. Let's go to that beer. I forgot their website's a bit slow. I was having issues. Yeah, I'm drinking the Ferda Lager, which is pretty good. I won't deny. It's pretty good. It does have a bit of a bitter aftertaste, but I'm enjoying it. Got Gentleman's Agreement, Misery Whip. I want to see 666. Oh, that's a hazy. What is it with us and Gen Z and millennials? They insist that IPAs are great. They're not. They taste like piss. IPAs, nah. Okay, 90% of IPAs taste like piss. I've had a few good ones. Polka, Mars and Style Oktoberfest. 2 guys, 1 saw. Oh, that'd be good. I also had this. So I had the Pennsyltucky Nectar, which is a watermelon shandy. That's what I mainly had. And it was pretty good shandy. But I want to see if they have. They might not list. Oh, was it this one? It was a milk stout. I don't think it was called Plaid and Flannel. What was it called? Maybe if a humble collector watches this replay, he can chime in if he remembers. It was a milk stout. I remember that. It was like 7% alcohol percentage or something like that. Yeah, alcohol per volume. You know how them percentages work. Shred the Gnar, American stout. Yeah, it was some type of milk stout. It was. We sampled it. Let's just say we saw the alcohol percentage per volume, and we kind of went, yeah, we can't drink that, or else we're not going to go home tonight, and we have to go to work tomorrow. So we had samples, and it was possibly one of the greatest beers I've drank. It wasn't much. I just had a shot of it. I want to go back. I can tell you all that the video. I'm going back for educational reasons. We're going here. We're going to document General Kane and his very peculiar legacy in American history, and we're going to explore the town he established. It is a front because I want this milk stout. I want to really just sit there and have 2 glassfuls of it. Gotta enjoy history. Gotta enjoy that. You gotta have fun. You gotta have fun once in a while. And Trippy Soul running away to the bar. I have made him thirsty. Skunx Workshop. I'm having a revolver, blood and honey, brewed here in Texas. Last trip to Gettysburg and Antietam, we got a lot of good stuff from Mason-Dixon Distillery, Fourscore and Antietam Brewery, and the ABC. I've heard about the ABC. I've never got to go there. I mean, normally, if I go to Gettysburg, I really haven't got to do a lot of the Gettysburg breweries. If I go to Gettysburg, my usual tradition, if it's not a busy weekend, I usually go have dinner at the Farnsworth House and Sweeney's Tavern. I just love the ambiance in there. And then usually I strut over to our Rourke's. They got Kilbeggy whiskey. It's like the only time I'm gonna have Kilbeggy whiskey. We get to have a few other stuff, and then I mosey my way to the hotel. That's my nightlife experience in Gettysburg. I have been to the Blue and Gray Grill once. I had the Sickles burger, of course, in honor of the man who saved the Union. I had a burger in his honor. It was really good. Where else have I gone? I always have breakfast at the Lincoln Diner. If you go to Gettysburg, whoever's watching the stream now in the future, you must have breakfast at the Lincoln Diner. Just understand it. That is by law. That is the law of Redoubt. You must have breakfast at the Lincoln Diner when you're in Gettysburg. I know a lot of people like going to the Dobbin House, and the Dobbin House has actually been featured. I featured it briefly on Volume 2 of Retracing the Streets of Gettysburg. It's more style over substance, in my opinion. You're paying for the atmosphere. We're in a 250-year-old structure. We're having like dinner in the cellar and everything, and it's candlelight. I have had their French onion soup. It is as good as what everybody says it is. I'm not denying the food ain't good there, but it's a little bit overhyped. I don't know. I'll say because maybe it's because the reason I'm not as hyped on the Dobbin House because nearby, well, a few hours nearby, we have like a similar restaurant where it's in an 18th century structure. You may have heard of it. It's called Jean Benet Tavern. Really good there. Really good. It's the same atmosphere. They're very busy also. And I've always wanted to do a retracing history on the Jean Benet house, but I'm not sure how I'm gonna do it. If you don't know what the Jean Benet Tavern is, the property has its roots back to this French and Indian War. Robert Callender, who, if I'm not mistaken, he was with the Royal American Regiment during the French and Indian War. I know he was with the Forbes expedition. I saw his name pop up many times in research. He was like the first like really known like landowner. They don't know if the building goes back to when he owned it, but the building definitely goes to the late 18th century as there's accounts of it existing during the Whiskey Rebellion. And there's accounts of soldiers during like the Civil War going there. I remember my grandfather told me a story he had heard about the Jean Benet Tavern, how like a young 16-year-old soldier had his first experience with coffee at the Jean Benet Tavern as they were going off to muster. And it's been very important for the Lincoln Highway, US 30 across Pennsylvania. It's been a major stop for people coming down from the Allegheny Mountain. It's got its ghost stories as well. So I've always wondered how would I do a retracing history episode? It's not a museum. It's a functioning restaurant. And I think you have 4 rooms as a bed and breakfast. So I guess I would have to reach out to the owners and see if we can negotiate something, like maybe an interview or something. I'd love to do that. So that's why I'm not really always into the Dobbin House in Gettysburg, because I got the Jean Benet a little bit closer to home. Bangers and Madge with Confederate sharpshooter. Ah, yes. Yeah. Yeah, that was one of the biggest losses. I get why. I think it was because the family, they were ready. They'd been doing that for many years. They were ready to retire. But gosh, I miss hunts. I was in there about only a handful of times, not as much as most people were. But boy, I remember going there as a kid. We always went in there. We never really ate in hunts as a kid. I did more as an adult. But as a kid, we would always go to hunts to get like refreshments when we were doing our walks through town and stuff. That was our pit stop. Go in, use the restroom, get some bottles of water. Sometimes we would end up having sandwiches, and they did make, in my opinion, the best Philly cheesesteak I've had. Granted, I've never actually been in Philadelphia, and judging by what the city of brotherly murder is currently like, I don't think I'm going to be in Philadelphia anytime soon. Sadly. So Hunt's Battlefield Fries was the closest I got to a Philly cheesesteak. It was so good. And yes, a very big loss for the community of Gettysburg. That was a local stomping ground there. Reminds me, we have a cafe at a local town that I always go to. And it's a hole-in-the-wall place. It's very similar to Hunt's. You just go in there and the walls are just lined with memorabilia just from the regular customers over the years just donating stuff. And, service is very small scale. Usually the service is provided at this hole in the wall more by the customers themselves than by the people running it. Not because the people running it are negligent, just you get used to it after a while. Hey, sometimes cheap eats are the best eats, especially when you're on the road and you're on a budget. I've been there. Remember when Sheets used to be like affordable? Remember like going in and getting Sheets food while you're running? That was affordable. Like you get like a McDonald's meal nowadays. Like you're looking at like anywhere from $15 to $20 just for one person. It's ridiculous. And who wants to go to McDonald's? It's a dystopia. All the grayscale. Who thought the grayscale was a good idea? I don't understand the grayscale. You know, remember we're going down a McDonald's rabbit hole now. Get ready, folks. Remember there was a McDonald's nearby, and it was train themed to me. Now you remember me as like a 4-year-old readout. That was like the best thing ever. Like a train themed McDonald's. And it wasn't like the whole thing was decked out in trains, but they had the back dining area and the walls had nothing but Lionel model trains, including like Lionel G1s, the Pennsylvania Railroad's G1s. I distinctly remember that. They were cool. Like all these McDonald's, they were colorful. You know, they had all these characters. You know, you had the Funhouse stuff. And I kind of get why the Playhouses disappeared from fast food restaurants, just the liability. But still, why do the colors have to go away? I may have told this story before on Uncut History. It's a recent story. When we were in the Shenandoah Valley back in August, me and a humble collector, we stopped in Newmarket, Virginia. And we were hungry. And we really wanted to go eat at a local restaurant. The problem was most of them were closed because it was Sunday, and the one we were going to, like a diner, was packed. So we settled, okay, we'll just go to McDonald's because we're on a time crunch. The McDonald's, it's packed. There is a line. There are lines out on the highway blocking the red light for people in the drive-thru. Well, we didn't want the drive-thru. We just want to go in and order our food and eat and get out. So after like 10 minutes of a life and death experience trying to get around the drive-thru people, we get parked. Now, what's weird is there's all these people lined up, you know, in cars, but the actual parking lot's pretty empty. So we go inside, and there are screaming kids because they're in a freaking jail cell. They're in this gray, black, macabre interior nowadays. No wonder all these kids scream at McDonald's nowadays. They're horrified. Everybody's like, oh, Ronald McDonald's so scary. No. You thought Ronald McDonald is scary. You haven't seen the 1984 messed up stuff that is the modern day layout of McDonald's. So we go in there and we're waiting in line, and we're like, this line ain't going to the counter. Actually, there's nobody at the counter. Where's this line going? Everybody that was in this McDonald's was lined up for the freaking kiosk. The kiosk. There was nobody at the counter lined up to put an order in. There were staff members at the counter to take your order, but nobody was going there. Everybody was going to the kiosk or going for the drive-thru. It was the most horrifying Twilight Zone experience I've had in the past 3 months. Maybe not of all time, but in the past 3 months. Like everybody's disassociated. Nobody can look somebody in the eye anymore. It was horrifying. We were like the only two. So we go up there, we get our food, we order, no problem, eat, and left. I guarantee you, there were people who were in the drive-thru line from the time we pulled in, from the time we left, because nobody wanted to actually talk to a person. That is sad and scary. I've been there before, but it's been a long time, and I've passed it like every time going to Gettysburg. I have to pass it if I don't want to pay the fee on the turnpike. Yeah, if you don't, Mr. Ed's Elephant Museum and Candy Emporium, great story of a roadside attraction. It's like one of the last surviving roadside attractions in Pennsylvania. Literally, Roadside America's gone too. Oh, Roadside America's gone. I did get to see it a year before it closed, thank goodness. But that was before I was really doing retracing history. You can go to Laurel Highlands Railfan Films and see a highlight reel of Roadside America. I really should do a video. I could just do a documentary of Roadside America. I'm getting side. Ed's Elephant Museum and Candy Emporium. That the story is there was a gentleman named Mr. Ed, and he really, really liked collecting elephants, like all sorts of like, porcelain elephants, salt and pepper shaker elephants, elephants that, were like amusement rides, any type of thing of an elephant. That was his thing. He collected elephants. And he collected so much, he had them in a giant building off of 30. Sadly, there was a major fire that destroyed a considerable part of his collection, but he was able to rebuild the museum with new donations of elephants. And it also has a big candy store. Now, I'm not much of a candy person, maybe straightforward, but they got some really good root beer licorice there from the last time I was there, if I remember. And I'm sure they still have it there. They got candy in there that just isn't, you don't think is around anymore. It's like, yeah, I'll take, you know what? I'm going to be in Gettysburg in the near future. I'll keep that in mind about stopping at Mr. Ed's. I've always been meaning to stay at the Federal Point. I never do. I don't know why. I guess it's because I just don't have the time to plan it out right. But because if I'm not mistaken, Humble Collector wishes he stayed at the Federal. History Underground, I believe he stays at the Federal Point whenever he goes to Gettysburg. I know he did he started one of his episodes of History Traveler at the Federal Point Inn. And I think they had the owners on addressing Gettysburg. I didn't get to hear the episode though, but I think they had the owners on a few weeks ago for an edition of addressing Gettysburg. The beer hiccups begin. I've heard about the tavern. I've never gone there before. What should I get? What should I get in terms of drink, and what should I get in terms of food? Let me know, dog face. I'll take you up on that offer. I'm getting a little winded. Hold on one moment, folks. I'm gonna get a drink of water. Just in time for another text message. Whoa, about the almighty election. Spencer's 1,500% GOP match for the final end of month deadline was just approved. Claim before 11:59 p.m. Stop equals end. You should subscribe to Readout Productions. You subscribe to Readout Productions. Yeah. I'm going to tell the bot is subscribe to Readout Productions and unsubscribe podcast. And stop. Don't worry, Captain. We'll buff out those scratches. See? I'm letting them know. Hey, maybe we can get... I'm going to fight fire with fire here. I'll pull on it. I'll get a few more subscribers for the night's over. I'll find a way. I'll just keep spamming the spammers. It's great. It's great, guys. Peeking through. Wow, a lot of notifications. Man, I missed a lot tonight because I wasn't really mentally here all day. I just saw a Humble Collector posted a video. Imperial German Regimental Stein, 3rd Badan Infantry Regiment. I will have to look at that later on. Juggling things here behind the scenes. Apologies. Very, very high tech we are here on YouTube. Okay. All right, did my rambling back there behind the scenes. Oh. Man, I went on that whole tangent about McDonald's. It kind of took the wind out of me. Yeah, fast food really just... Nah, I really don't do fast food anymore. Can't afford it. You are honestly better off going into like a hole-in-the-wall like diner or cafe or something, and you'll get a more hearty meal, a more affordable meal, and you'll come out more happier than anything a fast food chain's going to provide you. Like Arby's is like the only one I'll like sometimes go into. We do got a pretty darn good Arby's nearby. Always had a clean ship. We also have, oddly enough, a very good Long John Silver's. It's always clean. Now other almost every other Long John Silver I go to is disgusting and filthy, but this one for some reason is clean. I guess it's that maybe they used the grease. It's so acidic, the grease that's going into your digestive tract. They decided we'll just use it to clean the floor. Nobody will know. But I mean, I did get to live long enough to see the Krusty Krab become a real thing, kind of. You know, Wendy's apparently got that promotional deal. Like they're doing all the SpongeBob stuff. Yeah, if you're working at Wendy's right now, it got to be like, if you're working at Wendy's and you're like 30 years or younger, you got to be having the time of your life right now. If you're like, oh my God, we're going to do SpongeBob. We're selling SpongeBob merch. I get to just meme about SpongeBob all day and say it's part of work. They're living their lives. Their lives are fulfilled. They are now they're a fry cook at the Krusty Krab for a limited time only before the deal runs out with Paramount. I may have to just stop in a Wendy's just for the meme. Just maybe do a retrace in history. Hey guys, we're here. You know, we're here at the Krusty Krab here in Irwin, Pennsylvania. Oh, hold on. We're going back. Oh, sorry. Okay, Dogface was given his recommendations. I always just get some hard ciders. Their menus okay, they're always evolving menu. Very good. But the chicken bacon ranch wrap, boom boom sauce. Boom boom sauce. That's what I've started doing. Cindy's Diner is my new hangout spot. Yeah, diners are the best. If you can find one, go there. They're the best. I have a few diners that I frequent in Gettysburg and in my local parts. It's not bad yet that people know me and I think I've yet to hit that level. Like, you know, it's bad if like they know the tourist. Though I don't really view myself as a tourist in Gettysburg. Oh, I think I'm making it. They have successfully unsubscribed. Okay, I wow, they double posted. The bot got really angry. It did not like me playing with it. Yeah, go get a good diner. Go get a good grease burger. It'll warm the soul. More people need to go eat at diners. And Fred's over there taunting the dogs at the top of the stairs, I believe. You guys know about Fred the cat, right? Yeah, I think we all know about Fred the cat. What's the matter, Fred? We'll see if he'll come running in here any moment. And it's weird when Fred makes noises because Fred's kind of stealthy. He's Stealth the cat. He's the one that when we had James Esparza on last year, all the stuff started falling from the shelf. That was Fred's doing. And then he tried, I tried to grab Fred. Fred tried to kill me. It was one of them moments. It was one of the moments to ever moment. What are we gonna do in the future? I mean, we got episodes coming out, obviously. I'm thinking, like, what are our future plans? There's a lot of stuff I always want to do. We need to do something for Halloween. We definitely need to do something for Halloween. I have no research done for any potential videos on Halloween, but we do have Thursday, and normally we stream on Thursdays. We do usually stream on Thursdays, and if I'm not mistaken, Halloween lands on a Thursday. Maybe we should just do something simple like listing favorite horror films. I can have fun with that. Oh. Lived in Gettysburg for a while back in the day. Some late night drunken walk for a late night meal at the diner was the norm. Yeah. Oh, you'll get more. Oh, you'll get more between me and a humble collector. Yep, that'll happen. We we're attempting to try to get going a podcast with us and one additional host. It's currently called the Fubar Digital Lounge. Actually, I'll go. Yeah, it's my stream. I'll promote my stuff. I'll shill for myself. Fubar Digital Lounge. We did there for a while. We called it Heterochromedia Podcast, but nobody could spell it, so I decided to change it to the Fubar Digital Lounge. And we've just been too busy this summer to really do more stuff. we did one episode on the rebrand. It's what we want to do more often. Our most recent episode is actually history related. We have a series that we want to do here, but we just haven't had time to do it, called Hammered History, where essentially me and a humble collector, we go do research on a really semi-obscure, really convoluted event, like real like crazy event in history. Then we drink and smoke cigars and talk about this event and try to recite it to the best we can with our abilities. You can see here we did almost an hour and a half essentially podcast about Mad Dog's Voyage of the Damned, aka the 2nd Pacific Squadron of the Russian Navy during the Russo-Japanese War. The craziest story in maritime history. Very brief recap. In 1904, Russia was refusing to give up a particular peninsula that is now part of China. Japan claimed that peninsula and insisted that Russia leave, and Russia's like, oh, you can't do anything, you're a bunch of Asians, and Europeans are so superior. And then Japan did what Japan does in the 20th century and surprise attack Russia, completely isolated its Pacific Squadron in Port Arthur, killed the admiral of the 1st Pacific Squadron, like decapitated him, not like in a like intentional way. It was like a freak sheet of metal from a impact on the Russian ship, and the metal came up and just careened his head off. The Russian infantry was being funneled in a very, very funky manner because they had to go across the Trans-Siberian Railway, which wasn't fully finished yet. So they had to go overland. It was just a complete mess. So the Russians needed to go and relieve Port Arthur from the Japanese siege. Their idea was to take the Baltic fleet and take it to the Pacific. My dear chat, do you see the problem with sending a Baltic fleet to the Pacific? See, you gotta get out of the Baltic. Then you gotta get in the Atlantic, and then you gotta go around Africa, and then you gotta go for the Indian Ocean, and then if you get to this point, you gotta go between Japan and Korea to get to Vladivostok, which had been Russia's nearest supply base in the Pacific. It did not go well for the Russians. It went really bad. And it is a fascinating, morbidly hilarious story. And if you want to hear me recount the whole thing, well, you're not going to hear it here tonight. You got to go listen to the episode. You got to go listen to the episode. So, consider going over there. It's right there. The Foo Bar Digital Lounge. It awaits you. If you're a subscriber here of Redot Productions, if you're a subscriber, Humble Collector, you know what you got to do now. You want to hear us, our historical knowledge, greatly impeded by certain libations. You go subscribe to the Foo Bar Digital Lounge, and you will get to hear the whole story of Mad Dog's Voyage of the Damned. It was one of the greatest things. It was one of the most fun things I've ever done with Humble Collector. And we're hoping to do more. We just really haven't had the time. So I'm going to drop the link right there in the chat. There you are for that video. Consider going over and seeing it. Yep. Yes. Yes, go do that. You go watch now. Well, you watch now after the stream. Yeah, I'm really enjoying this. I'm really enjoying this. So, yeah, new episode of Retracing History coming out soon. I'm hoping tomorrow, but it's not done, the video now. So it'll get done when it's going to get done, which is as soon as possible. As soon as I possibly can. We also are going to have another video coming out in the near future about the Zippo lighters. We did get to actually go stop at the Zippo Museum during our whole trip up to northwestern Pennsylvania. Far bigger than I was anticipating. I kind of figured it was going to be like a 1 hour in and out deal. Like, because they call it the flagship store in the museum. I'm like, okay, it's going to be more about selling the merchandise. And, it is about selling the merchandise. I don't dispute it. But they got a very sizable museum to go with it. So we're going to go and delve into the history of the creators behind the best damn lighter to ever exist. So that'll also be coming out, retracing history. And eventually there's going to be a Valley Forge episode. At the start of this year, we went to Valley Forge. You've actually seen videos from this trip. The Brandywine and the Paoli videos. They came from the Valley Forge trip. The reason you have yet to get the Valley Forge video is the day we were there, we got the proper Valley Forge experience. And by the proper Valley Forge experience, I mean it was freezing rain with wind gusts. And I did not pack a coat. It did not go well for readout. So we didn't really film anything. We didn't film like any talking sequences there. We just got out of the car, photographed in a bunch of directions, and got back in the car. And then Humble Collector turned on what I called his ass warmers, because you had the seats are heated in the car. And I sat there and unthawed and waited for the next stop. So it was a great trip, and I really want to go back to Valley Forge because I really didn't get to properly enjoy it on that trip. There was stuff we actually had to skip just because we were probably starting to get a little anemic at the end. we were in need of food and warmth. We basically just that day we just lived off of Five Guys fries. It was a whole thing. And there will be like a trip tapes for the Garrison members to watch. Whenever I finally get the Valley Forge video out, you'll then get the trip tapes of that whole journey. But yeah, I got to finally find the time to write a script and piece that together. Yeah. So that'll eventually come down the pipeline. And yeah, it's always a battle here on Retrace or on Readout Productions, seeing what you folks are more interested in. Is it history? Well, obviously it's history. Is it railroad history? Is it military history? They always battle it out. We've done more military history videos, but I will say the railroad history stuff usually gets more of a buzz because people like trains. Very simple. Now, if I could just combine the military with the trains in a retracing history, we're all set. I do know a few answers to this, but some of them require me to go far, very far. And I'd love to go far, but don't have the budget at this time. Well, folks, I think we're going to wind down tonight's stream because I'm very tired. I'm very tired. I am being held together by Logyard Brewery. Their beverages are literally keeping me going at this point. So we're not sponsored by them, but hey, I want to be against it. So again, thank you all for have supported us over the years here on Readout Productions. We have hit 3,000 subscribers. If you're learning about us the first time tonight, well, welcome. Consider hitting the like button down below. And if you want to follow us on our future adventures, consider subscribing here to Readout Productions. We try to have a schedule of videos going up on Saturday and live streams on Thursday. Obviously, with us streaming on Friday, we're not keeping to that schedule because life happens sometimes. And if you want to go the extra mile in supporting us, you can go to our Ko-fi page, links in the description below, where you can join the Garrison. And for a small monthly fee, you will help to fortify this bastion of historical preservation. We need to do merch someday. What should I do for merch? You guys decide in the chat in the comment section as we peter out for tonight. What should I do for merch? What would you pay? What would you pay to have Readout Productions on? No, I'm not plastering my face or anything. My face is too ugly. You don't want to see it. All right. What are we doing? What are we doing?
We can't stop here. This is bad country.
Yep, it's backcountry. Well, I'd like to thank you again for all tuning in. Hopefully we get another 1,000 subscribers in 2025. Let's go to 4K now. 4K. Ooh, Readout Productions in 4K. You can see all of Dan Sickles' mistakes in 4K. It sounds really good, doesn't it? Well, thank you guys for tuning in.
We will really from the hillside, walk together from the plain, shouting the battle cry of freedom. The Union forever, hurrah, boys, hurrah! Down with the traitors, up with the stars. We will reel around the flag, boys, and relay once again, shouting the battle cry of freedom.